You know that feeling of being completely stuck? And I don't just mean procrastinating. I mean like physically unable to start something you actually want to do, or maybe even stop something you're already doing. It's this really common, but honestly super misunderstood experience. In the autistic community, there's a name for it: inertia. So today, let's dive into the science behind this feeling of being kind of frozen. This line right here, it's from a Reddit user talking about their own experience. Turns out they were describing something that can be linked to autism called autistic catatonia, which is, well, it's like a very severe form of this inertia. It's where that brain-body disconnect gets so intense that it can literally lead to a lack of movement and speech. Just imagine that. Your brain is sending the command loud and clear, but your body, it just won't respond. It's such a powerful way to put it, and it really gets to the core of what we're talking about. So what is going on here? What is this feeling? This profound disconnect between what you want to do and what your body actually does? That's the central mystery we're going to unpack in this explainer. We'll look at firsthand stories and the brain science that's finally starting to give us some answers. And to really get a handle on this, we've got to start with the lived experience. Because look, this isn't some abstract idea. For a lot of people, this is just daily life. Okay, what's so fascinating about this quote is how perfectly it shows that inertia is a two-way street. It's not just about the struggle to start something, like getting into the shower. It's also about the struggle to stop once you're already doing it. It's like your body just wants to keep doing whatever it's currently doing, whether that's sitting still or moving. All right, so we've heard some personal stories. Let's shift gears a bit and get a more formal definition. What exactly is autistic inertia? Well, researchers are actually mapping this whole experience right now based on what autistic people themselves are saying. So check this out. This diagram is from a study in Frontiers in Psychology, and it shows how researchers are starting to categorize all this stuff. You can see they're separating the internal feelings, that sense of being disconnected, from all the external things that can make it better or worse. It's a pretty complex web for sure. And this definition really nails it. It's basically Newton's first law of motion, but for people. And listen, that last part, not within conscious control, that is everything. This is not about willpower. It's not about motivation. It's an involuntary thing. So let's break down what that really looks like. You've got difficulty starting tasks, you've got difficulty stopping tasks, and then there's the trouble with switching between them. But this one really gets me. It's from a research participant who said that even stopping not doing anything feels like a massive action, right? Inaction itself becomes this state that's incredibly hard to break out of. Okay, so if this isn't about willpower, then what is it? Well, to figure that out, we need to take a look inside the brain, at its very own task manager, and the chemical signals that make it all work. Let's talk about the prefrontal cortex, or PFC. The easiest way to think about it is like the CEO of your brain. Seriously, it's the part that's in charge of planning, making big decisions, and, this is the important part, telling all the other departments in your brain when it's time to switch from one task to the next. It keeps everyone focused on the main goal. So how does the CEO know when to pivot, when to change the plan? Well, a really important signal comes from a chemical called dopamine. When something unexpected happens, like you make a mistake, a little burst or dip of dopamine shoots up to the PFC. It's like an urgent memo that screams, hey, this plan isn't working anymore. We need a new strategy stat. Okay, but what happens if that dopamine alert isn't really an alert at all? What if it's weaker? This is where things get really interesting and where brain modeling gives us a huge clue about that feeling of being stuck. Right, so in a typical brain, you make a mistake and you get a strong dopamine signal. It tells the PFC, time to change things up. But one of the leading models suggests that in some autistic brains, that signal is just weaker. The alert is more like a whisper than a shout. And that makes it so much harder for the brain's CEO to let go of the old plan and start a new one. The whole system just gets stuck in a loop. And get this, researchers who were building a computer model of the brain found something absolutely wild. By making it just one tiny change in their code, literally just turning down the volume on that dopamine error signal, their computer models started acting stuck. It perfectly simulated the kind of inertia people describe. It proved that just having a weaker switch signal could explain the whole experience. And that brings us right back to the human side of things. Suddenly, this quote from a participant named Elizabeth makes total sense, doesn't it? If you know from past experience that any little interruption can throw you completely off track because your brain literally struggles to get back to it, well, of course you'd be hesitant to even start a new task. It's a completely logical fear. So, this brings us to the big question, right? What do we do with all this? How does understanding the science change how we should think about autistic inertia? Well, first and foremost, it means we have to drop the judgment. We just have to. This isn't laziness, it is not a character flaw. All the evidence points to a difference in neurology, not a lack of willpower. What it is, at its core, is a disconnect. It's a gap between a person's intention and their body's ability to act on it. And it seems to be caused by that weaker switch signal we were talking about. And the emotional toll of being misunderstood here is just huge. Can you imagine knowing deep down what your struggle is, what your reality is, but the world keeps telling you you're just not trying hard enough? And sometimes you even start telling yourself that. This quote from Ruth, it's just heartbreaking. It perfectly captures that pain of not being believed, even by yourself. And that really leaves us with a final crucial question. We have the personal stories. We have the brain science starting to back it up. So now, the challenge isn't just to understand it, it's to believe it. So, how can we build a world that trusts this truth? A world that moves past judgment and towards real, meaningful support?